Hi, welcome to day 2 of the 9 candles, and there are 9 green candles this time. And we have as our guest today, Dr. Gail. I was just making sure they'd really light. Dr. Gail is a healer and a wise person and a person who works with ETs and things like that. We're going to get more into why she's here and her perspective to help us in this time of change. But first we have to light the candles, and I'll take you over to the table so you can see what we got going. Okay, we've got the 9 candles. I've always done this before. It was 9 red candles. This is a little red candle, but it's really a red candle that's a cactus. You can see. All these are little cactuses that have been turned into candles. And we went with green this time because we're dealing with matters of the heart and change at our very center. And we're looking for growth and change. And when I was discussing this with another reader, I said, well, just pull a card on how this ought to get structured. And they pulled a card that had a big cactus on it, and it was called resourcefulness. And that became kind of part of the guiding light of the 9 candles. So I'm going to light the first candles, and then I say that like I can strike a match. Okay.
Are you striking a match?
I'm striking a match. Okay.
Oh, okay.
This is candle for day 1, and this is for day 2. And what will happen is, for those of you who haven't been here before, by the time we get around all the way around, we'll have 9 candles. You blow the candle out each day at the end of the ceremony if you're going to come through for all of them, because if you don't, you won't have 9 candles. You'll have whatever you got left in the thing. So we light these candles to help focus our consciousness and to appreciate how, when we join together our intentions with other like-minded beings, we are prepared to move Gaia, Mother Earth, and the new Earth into its emerging planetary patterns. First, by centering each individual's vibes with the coming times, and then by living with the awareness of our own strengths, that it is part of the energy for the new Earth. We will feel free to romp and play in these uncharted seas. And that's our meditation. So we're looking to romp and play in uncharted seas. And it is such a time of change with the major planetary shifts that are going on. And that's what we're going to talk about, is change and in making change work for us. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Gail now, and she and I will have a chit chat.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me, Nancy. I'm writing down, which I do write a lot, the uncharted seas, which, I came all the way from South Carolina to Mount Shasta to work with the ETs. Talk about change and uncharted seas. I'm having so much snow that I have never seen before, that I have never dealt with snow before, and I'm having to make the best of it. And of course, it makes you closer to your neighbors because nobody can really go anywhere. So you get to, find out more about your neighbors. So, but anyway, my whole life since 2020 has been changed. When I was first presented with a bracelet from an angel, to gifts from ETs and learning all about the ETs. Now, my background is I'm a nurse and a chiropractor, and I come from a science background into this metaphysical ET world. And so everything has been changing for me since 2020. It's been like a snowball of change. I'm like the poster child of change. And you just have to go with the flow, which I am really good at. But I've really been challenged along the way. I mean, even coming out to California, I totaled my car by hitting a deer. So I had to get a new car with it. So I have been challenged for change all the way since 2020 for everything. It seems like my whole life has changed, and for the good. I mean, it's been a lot of stumbling blocks along the way, but it's generally for the good, which I'm immersed now in the ET world, helping the ETs. And so it's been great.
But
So
you do healings for humans that are here, right?
I do healings for humans and ETs. Yes.
Yes. And you also, if you're a person who's watching this who said, "Oh, I had an ET experience, who could I ever talk to?" Go look at it's Dr. Gail Skywalking with Moon still.
Yeah, that's right. It's Dr. Gail Skywalking with Moon. And we're talking to ET experiencers and people to come on and get comfortable. I mean, because whenever you're having an experience and you think maybe an ET visited you, who can you talk to without them thinking you're crazy? Well, you can come talk to me, and you can come look at the channel, and you can find out if it was a true experience or was it a dream or something. But most of the time, when it's something that has stuck in your mind, it's an experience. So I'm trying to make a channel that's comfortable for the people to come and talk to about that, and bring it on experiencers also. And my healing is I have, through my journey, I've become a medical intuitive. So I'm able to see people's x-rays. And that is from a gift I think that's been given from my ET friends. I think, well, I've had past lifetimes doing all these things. That's why it's snowballing so quickly for me, my journey right now. And that's what they keep telling me. You've done this twice before. This is easy for you. Keep on with this journey. So, yes. So if you're having any kind of experiences or you're questioning it, you can contact me or come to my YouTube channel and we can discuss it.
And how happy were you, Dr. Gail, when I told you last February, everything's going to be up for change again? After all the changes.
At this point, when I see 555, I'm going, really? What kind of change is happening now? And I do see that quite often. It's like I'll settle down a little bit, and here comes the 555s, and I'm going, oh no, what's going to happen now? It's all been good. It's just that, I've had so many changes since 2020 that I'm going, what's going to happen next? And nothing I can think of or predict is going to be the right way or right thing. It's always a surprise.
Well, and I think we have to be ready for the surprises and not be afraid of them, because that's what slows us down. The other inspiration for, and when I started to see we're going into these changes, I had a few things just sort of fall into my life. One of them is a poem called Breathe, which I have attached in my resource folder on my website, www.crystaldirections.com. It's quite a long poem, but I'm just going to read the last few stanzas. The preface, the beginning part of the poem is, it's a she, doesn't say her name, sat back and they said she was shy. When she led from the front, they hated her pride. So it's all the things you go through when you put your face forward. People say, oh, you shouldn't have done that. And then when you keep your dreams to yourself, they said, God, your life is dull. And then when you tell them, by the way, I meet, not talk to ETs, they kind of go, oh, really? And I know, because I've been reading cards since I was 12. That's a lot of years to get that look from people. Anyway, one day she decides that in the poem, she decides she's going to do what's best for herself. So she walked into the forest and stood there with the trees. She heard the wind whisper and danced with the leaves. She spoke with the willows, the elm, and the pine. She told them about what she'd been told time after time. She told them she never felt nearly enough, and she was either too little or far, far too much. Boy, do I relate to that stanza. Then she found a small clearing surrounded by firs, and she stopped and she heard what the trees said to her. And she sat there for hours, not wanting to leave, for the forest said nothing. It just told her to breathe. And that's where I think everybody needs to start when they're looking at change, is just breathe and see what the change is for you. You're going to hear a lot of people going through a lot of different kinds of changes. Their change may not be your change. Your change may be a very different thing. And we're not all going to be on the same page. We're not going to all change the same way. What's important for each of us is to, during these times, each day as we head closer and closer to the equinox, which will be on the 20th, we're going to be we've had so many major planets move before, immediately after the equinox. We're going to have Pluto move into Aquarius and give us a taste of our future, because it's right at the end of Capricorn. It's going to take one more little dip back into Capricorn, and then starting in January 2024, it's going to be out and running, and that is going to be an enormous change. Pluto's plows up a lot of stuff, and in Capricorn, it plowed up the structures that we were trapped in and what we were learning to accept, or what we had come to accept, and how to change and get out of that. And the planets keep doing what the planets do. And I don't know where you are feeling now. We're now in the middle of March, and I know starting back in February, I started feeling like every nerve in my body at times was getting triggered. I don't know how many of you are parents, but it's like that day that you're with your toddler and they found your last nerve and they grabbed it in their grubby little hand and they're raking it, just shaking you, and I have to survive this because I really don't want to go down for manslaughter. And so somehow that part of you that can make it through that, or you have the boss that just won't shut up and is about to bark on your last nerve. A person of conscience will try to change their own mental attitude and get through it and learn from it and move on. And that's where we are. The universe is shaking everything up around us. And since we're all creatures of, I like it when it's comfortable, I like it when I know what's going to happen next, and we're not being put in the place to know where it's going to happen next. So, and be open. That's the other part of this, is to be open. When I first started thinking on working on this 9 candles, I had 2 images. One was romping and just playing in a field, and the other one was looking across at uncharted seas and not being afraid of it, but figuring out how can I get across those uncharted seas? What do I need? And shortly after I had that image, I was watching one of my guilty pleasure YouTube shows. And this will tell you guys what my life's like. It's prehistory guys. they talk about all kinds of things prehistory. Anyway, they were having a discussion about how a bunch of people who study migration around the world had decided that, how did those little guys in their little dugout canoes make it from the South Pacific all the way over to the coast of South America or other islands in between? Great distances. You talk about the ultimate uncharted sea. And there's a new theory floating, and maybe not all that new. It's new to me, that whole areas of the island would take their canoes, they'd lash them together, and they'd set off with the combined intention to get to wherever the winds and the waves took them. And that to me made sense. Now you could do that if you had that kind of combined will and intention. And we're going into new earth. We're going into the earth changing fundamentally around us. It's either going to change in a good way, or it's going to change because it's going to collapse from what we've done. But what I want us to do is think about, what intention can you put in that canoe ride? And what intention can you put in this uncharted seas? And see where we go. And it ought to be a lot of fun. And we're going to be doing it for the next 9 days. We're going to have all sorts of folks on. Dr. Gail also reads cards and pulls things. And so we each decided to pull a card to close out this session.
All right, mine is from the Elemental Oracle deck. And I was shocked the card I pulled. Storms. That's what it is, storms. And on the card it says cleansing. And then I decided to open the book up to find out more information. And it says, sometimes you need to raise a lot of energy to blow away what you no longer need. I think that's what's going on with a lot of us. An issue will come to a dramatic head. Cleanse your body. Let go of what you feel you no longer need. Be specific in your release. Harm as little as you can. And that means people around you. So I think going through all this that we're going through, especially this next few days, that we're going to need a lot of energy to get through it. So they're just saying, the storm's coming, but you can handle it. Just raise your energy and cleanse what you don't need.
Okay, I pulled from the wild elementals, and for those of you who don't know, follow my channel. I work a lot with elementals, trying to understand them. And
Me too.
yeah, and I know, and I'm sitting there going, this is kind of silly. Why am I sitting here talking about fairies and elves? And then 2 Sundays ago, the Mexican president said that he saw an alush, which is the Mexican form of elf, and he put a picture of it. And this was his story, and I thought, well, I'm not nearly as strange as I think. Anyway, the card I pulled from the wild elementals is the ant. And we all know about how strong they are and how they can do things we don't even want to think about doing. But the ant's attributes are patience, stamina, planning, energy and patience needed to complete the work, communal living, and storing up for the future. When the ant comes into your life, he's showing you how to join forces and work for the common good. The whole is stronger than the sum of its parts, as the saying goes, and it's you struggling. If you're struggling with an issue, how to define the world outside yourself, it can help you in solving that problem. Put your head down, gather up all your resources, have the patience, and know that your continued and diligent effort will show results. So I hope so, because we all can use all the little ant energy we can possibly come up with.
Do that ant for the storms coming.
Yeah. Yeah, he teaches you how to build up your resources so you can handle that storm. So we're going to go back. We're going to blow out the candles. We're going to say goodbye to our desert roses. And I look forward to seeing you on day 3. And I think Jeffrey Ripecolor will be our person visiting us that day. And he also has a story of survival and making a go of it beyond himself.
Yeah, he does. He has a big story.
He's got a good story. Like live someplace 25 years and have it burn down around you. That kind of story. Anyway.
Yeah, this is a little more, mine's pretty large, but his is larger.
No, it's not a game. Whatever happens to each of us is what we need to learn. And I hope to see you all tomorrow. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Nancy Jean.
Oh, well, thank you for coming. Goodbye.
Bye.